Well, the countdown is over. All the hard work and preparation that's come before this is done. And the WFTF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships are here. Myself, Tom Stiles, and Emmy Fitzgerald in a very hot commentary box above a very hot field, and looking forward to this kickoff match. The wild card from USA and GRUT from the Netherlands. Emmy, what have we got in store for us? A packed stadium, it's going to be epic.
This is the showcase game to start off this World's Club Championship, and it's really a story of two different programs. Wildcard very much sticks to the system and the system that they have put in place since their team's inception, versus GRUT is really in favor of letting players play to their own strengths and then seeing how that comes together.
Well, the opening pull is in the air. We will talk more about these two exciting teams. As straight away, it's Baum with a quick pass off to Lau van der Wieden, the GRUT captain. Baum's got it again. Back to cross to van der Wieden. Looking downfield. Got space there. Oh, a poach from the 25 shirt of Judith Ledley. Almost came good, but a big shot deep underneath it. Oh, and it's a great read from Floor Kalarts. And that will not be the last time you hear from us about Floor Kalarts. She is going to be a dominant figure in this game. But GRUT with an easy hold in the opener.
And Floor is definitely one of the younger players on the team, but most everyone is pretty young on this team as well. Not wasting any time looking for that huck right away for that score. You'll look to see both teams really using their women as well. Wildcard really in favor of going with 4 women and 3 men in their gender ratio. And at the recent windmill, the women on GRUT really made a statement in their scores.
Yeah, they standout performances. GRUT lacking a couple of their key players. Ben Ort with an injured thumb and Baston de Jong missing from the line. But they scored, of their 15 points, they scored 12 of those points from their women catching. That's a real statement. And there's very few mixed teams, I think, who are here this week who have that sort of quality in their women's line.
And Wildcard not a stranger to the world stage. They were also in Lecco in 2014.
Now the crowd a little subdued at the first couple of points get underway. They've had a very excited welcome to the tournament. The Atrium Field hosting this opening game. We've had a band, Stars and Stripes, coming down in parachutes to hand off the first disc. But Wildcard now advancing nicely. Shot across the end zone, almost caught a trip, not quite in. And coming back, little tap. Steneker marking, swings back around. Trying to stop that up the line shot. It's going to be a big bid. No, not quite. Just a great cut. Uses the speed to get free and levels it up to offensive holds from these teams. One apiece.
And you could see the system that Wildcard has in place really working, using those strikes, getting those undercuts, and the acceleration there really to get that score. Really didn't take much time to score the point at all, and we haven't seen a turnover yet.
No. Both sides keeping it clean for us out here in this opener. The heat has been something of an issue for everybody today. A lot of the players in the stands were choosing to hide underneath the bleachers before the game because the temperatures are soaring, and in the sunshine it's pretty unbearable. But they've all wanted to come out onto the stands to watch this opener. The teams found out that they were going to be involved in this opening game. We're lucky enough last night, myself and Emmy, just to bump into GRUT in a restaurant for the evening and had a chat about their journey here. And they're a wonderful bunch.
And you talk about teams building their chemistry. While their team is very young, many of them built their chemistry playing U17s and U20, so much so that a 26-year-old on the team is known as Grandpa.
Their youngest member, Anna Minard, is 16 years old. She's already been playing with this team for 4 years. Quite incredible. Anyway, Wildcard out on defense here. Poaching off the 2 handlers at the side. trying to block the lane. They'll quickly use the space outside to relieve the pressure. Swings out to Walt Janssen. And a call on the field further down. Pick. 2 game advisors in this game. We have Linda Kudo and Steve Baker. Game advisors are not making any active calls. All their advice is, it's advisory. The one active call that, well, the one signal that they will make without being prompted is the offside call on a pull. But that's just a signal. The teams don't have to use it if they don't wish to. Low disc there from Lauco van der Wieden. And stuck on that sideline. Again, another stoppage.
So GRUT really in their vertical stack formation with this second handler back to try and get more spacing on the field. But so far, they've really been just working it on that far side, that force side.
Yeah, another pick.
Great way to really lose her defender.
Look at this, over the top shot. Oh, just enough hang time for the 24 shirt of Albert Lee to come racing across and dispose of that into the turf. Lee brings it to the line. Wildcard with the first opportunity of a break here. The spicy hammer just showed a little bit too much time and pace, but right back at you. The 11 shirt of Floor Collard. I did say that it wasn't the last time we'd hear from her. And I think she baits these things. I think she just leaves a little bit of space. Oh, but the overthrow and making sure of it. Good. Giving the disc back to Wildcard. They may well live to regret that. Flora's got a real turn of pace, and she will leave that 2-yard gap, make her offensive partner look open, and then close the gap and get the block, just as she did there. Wildcard and GRUT so far, a few tense moments, and see the game advisor coming on to listen. Still coming in on 1. Breaks around the back. Center of the field. Or dicing with danger there into the end zone, just shy. Putting up pressure again. Goes to the nice swing back and around. Textbook stuff from Wildcard. Resetting. Looking for that break side pass, but a continuation cut from the handler. Slowing things down through the gap. Straight into the hands of GRUT, and they make a quick start.
And I believe that's Coulart's second block that she's had, defensive play with the layout block and then the interception. When she threw that errant hammer, she really went back and got it on defense. GRUT staying alive.
Well, they're going to need to tidy up some of that, those loose throws. We talked to Mike McKenzie before the game, the Wildcard coach. He's been scouting out GRUT ever since they found out they were going to face them in the opening game. And maybe 1 or 2 years ago, you could say that GRUT were a little bit of a hidden gem in European Ultimate. Not very many people knew about them, and then all of a sudden they burst onto the scene, winning the European Championships in 2016. Oh, sorry, coming second in the European Championships in 2016. They've won Windmill twice. And with this really young team rising and getting better and better, there's suddenly a whole load of video footage available for everybody that wants it. And there's no mystery, no surprise anymore. Everybody knows who their big players are, and they know how they work. Mike's analysis, they like to send it. That's all he said. They like to send it. So that's how we're going to try and defend.
And you could really see that then in some of the defensive strategy from Wildcard, poaching, the handlers poaching in that lane, making it tougher to get the huck off. We'll see if they set up this way as they check back in with 3 handlers back, but still in a vertical stack.
Yeah, so coming straight across to the far side, Janssen making himself available, and another call. Now it's been declined. He's going to get moving again quickly. The movement there from GRUT the three women cutting out of the space. Janssen available. Trying to see these, sometimes see teams, mixed teams playing with gender pods where they keep the men and the women apart on the field, and it prevents, oh, that's a great layout bid. Deep shot going deep underneath it. It's going to be a huge layout, but it doesn't quite get to it. Ben Ort not able to reach that, goes sliding across the crumbs. It's a turnover to wildcard again.
And the crowd was really hoping that Ort was going to get there as well, but just a little bit low. So this has become quite a long point. After the first 2 points, there were no turnovers. Went fairly quickly.
We need to see some more clinical play from both these teams. Wildcard now. Disc rises, which manages to bring it down. Urheim down the line. Deep shot goes up. No pressure at all. Lots of space, but closing fast is Ort. Reaches up and just takes it out the sky. Sorry, Janssen there with the grab. And that is something that wildcard may not be able to throw, because the deep defense from the receivers from GRUT is pretty incredible. Threatening that deep shot again, isolating one player in the deep. Deep shot goes up again. Van der Wieden underneath it. This time, no mistake. The arc was perfect. Van der Wieden made his cut nice and early, got good clearance, and finally, GRUT put it away, but they're living dangerously.
And it was amazing the amount of space that Janssen really had to cover that ground to be able to get the block. And then on the offensive side, typically those hucks on the same third of the field, you can see the receiver is basically parallel where the thrower is, but there was enough angle on that. It's just perfectly placed right into the hands of Locker Van der Wieden.
Yeah, Ort, the supplier this time. It was the target on the previous occasion. We'll see some physicality from the GRUT guys already. 2-1, and they're still, I think the heat has taken a lot of energy out of everybody. There was a lot of smiles and enthusiasm arriving into the Atrium Stadium this afternoon for the game. There's two big screens at the one end of the field for the fans to watch. The hot sunshine has kind of subdued the atmosphere a little bit. The action on the field will do something about that, no doubt. Petzinger for wildcard. Oh, just nearly got the block hand out, but the deep shot's gone up. It's going to be long, might be drifting towards the back of the end zone and way out of the back of the end zone. Too much mustard on that one from wildcard.
And you could see Lauren Nelson wind up and all the power that she put into her core to get that flick up into the end zone, but just a little bit too much power going out the back.
There is a little bit of breeze blowing around down there, but the stands and the bleachers are causing it to swirl, but it is going the same way as that pass from Nelson. Overcooked a little on this occasion. They'll have to adapt. Available in space is Claire Dunn. Has been playing with GRUT this season. Moved across. Oh, straight away, almost on the line for great work from wildcard. It was almost to Callahan. The connection between the two GRUT handlers failing and making up for the loss of the disc.
So the defender actually tripped when he was going from into the handler space, but Robin Myers, as he was recovering and going back to mark, was in the perfect place to get that interception, and wildcard took advantage of that opportunity to score. Sometimes when you have someone unexpectedly catch it like that, the rest of the team kind of says, oh, great, now what do we do? I wasn't expecting that at all. But wildcard, so much poise, manages to keep their offensive hold.
Yeah, they've really switched on offense once they'd got the disc in hand. So 2 each. And we're on serve as well, which considering the number of turnovers, there was 3 apiece in that previous point, 1 apiece in that one. So plenty of disc for both teams, but if they can convert, that will be the difference.
So Wildcard placed 5th, actually, at the USA Ultimate Club Championships this past fall, barely, but through extra bids were able to qualify this year, and what was a rebuilding year for them last year.
And that disc has gone sailing out of the back, caught by our cameraman in the back of the end zone. And considering that's going into the wind, or what little wind there is, that's quite a pull. You tend to find with these turf fields, they get so hot, the black rubber crumbs tend to absorb the heat, and you do occasionally get these odd thermals pop up. Straight away, no question about it, it's going deep. It's aimed at the 11 shirt of Floor Collarts, who reads it, reels it in. And the connection is there. Collarts the target for no doubt at all from the moment the disc arrived in the hand of that thrower. Making that look very simple from the brick mark.
It was amazing, and Collarts had a defender on her the entire time, but she was not intimidated at all. So much trust from the thrower that they were able to score quickly.
We'll be back with the opening game, a little bit more of that from Mason, Ohio, just after this.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
Welcome back to Cincinnati. Welcome back to Mason, Ohio. The disc is up and over and out the side from GRUT. So disc going out, and Wildcard with their own deep shot early, and this time not as accurate as the GRUT brick mark deep shot. And signaling, it's first time we get to see how the D line for GRUT are going to advance the disc right from the end zone.
And coming in from that front cone is, you really want to get it off the sideline as much as possible, or send it deep.
The Flying Dutchman, Baston de Jong underneath this one. You're going to have to read it perfectly. And just the body position there, a little bit too good. Baston going over the top to try and get it back. And GRUT will threaten that deep shot early in the game. Make sure that Wildcard are always going to mark them deep and then use that space underneath towards the end. I think Wildcard had their number on the deep shots before the game started, to be fair. Moving the disc nicely now. Engler sends it. Pressure, but not enough pressure. Dam chasing it down, and Dam gets there just ahead of the 88 shirt of Haley Olm. Couldn't get there. Disc just hanging again.
Haley Olm is one of the go-to receivers on Wildcard, but Lola Dam, the way that she read the disc so accurately to be able to get that block, really, really fun to watch.
I'd counted her out midway through that sprint, but she proved me wrong. We're watching these two teams warm up beforehand, both showing very few nerves, which, considering that majority of the GRUT side is under 21, is pretty outstanding. Coming across now to Neno Roos. Cowman's not able to connect, disc to the ground. Wildcard with another opportunity. De Jong marking. Johnson, slip of the feet, still connecting. Into the end zone, Engler continues the cut to the front corner and makes sure of that one. We're unbelievably, I mean, we're still on serve.
And just really textbook offensive movement from Wildcard. You see the swing, the strike, and right to that front cone. I believe this is the second time that they've scored going directly to that front cone. And it really looked like GRUT was going to have the opportunity to possibly get a break, but we're still tied up.
Well, with both the teams making the offensive errors, as they have been doing, there's possibility that one of these sides, if they tighten up on their mistakes, could really run away with this game.
And you were talking about the weather. It is already well in the 90s here. And then on this AstroTurf, that certainly adds a higher temperature. Well, as the game wears on, your fatigue wears on, and sometimes that makes you a little more open to throwing errors or not quite being as crisp as you are on your defense. There's a long game ahead.
So 3 apiece in this opening game of the 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships from Cincinnati. We are at the Atrium Arena in Mason, Ohio. About 40 minutes north of Cincinnati itself, as the disc from Wildcard soars high into the air and comes down safely into the hands of Walt Janssen. Lauco van der Wieden sends it straight away over the head. What a disc, what a read. Janssen collects the disc, and was it Floor Kalatz again? With the big backhand. My goodness, she's got an arm on her.
And the shot was amazing, but let's talk about Walt Janssen as he's running straight into the end zone. His angle is so good, and then turns his head. His neck is basically backwards, but reads it well enough. That is trust and chemistry from your teammates.
Well, that's the sort of thing that they've shown when they've been on offense. If they can do that sort of tight, clinical offense when they get the disc from a turnover, then they can really start marching away. We'll be back with more from Mason, Ohio right now with Wildcard about to take the disc again. And see the coach Mike McKenzie down on the field.
And the players, various players talked about kind of who their hero was and their most influential person in Ultimate. So many of them listed McKenzie because of what he's put into this team.
Disc dying towards the sideline, but it's right on the sideline there. Coming to close it down, Bram Steenhausen looking for that deep shot. Alex Capinos out to the sideline. Petzinger sends it, continues the run. Capinos is the receiver into the end zone. And a call on the play. Call on the play. I think it was a pick. Capinos getting a little bit too free, a little bit too easy. And the players on the field using the hand signals. Sort of arms at right angles, like they're doing a sort of a gun show.
And most of the players on GRUT are able, do speak English. However, we will see throughout the course of this tournament those hand signals really being useful, as every team has an interpreter, but sometimes the language barriers still play a factor in the game. They're slightly different than what you might see in the US.
Defensive pressure from GRUT is really closing out some of these early options down the line. They've kind of got the hang of how Wildcard want to play into that open lane the whole time, but great footwork in the backfield. The 3 shirt and the 13 shirt connecting beautifully. Ian Engler continues the cut. Front corner, great connection there. So we're tied up at 4 apiece in this opener from the mixed division at the World Club Championships. More after this.
If you want to be a high performer, eat like one. Start with a balanced diet and drink plenty of water. Good nutrition is one of the best ways to boost your mental and your physical health.
We are in timeout right here on the opening game in the mixed division of the 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships from Cincinnati. Tom Stiles and Emmy Fitzgerald watching a fantastic game. Lots of action on the turnovers, but 4 apiece. These two teams tied right together at the moment.
Exactly, and going back and forth, we've seen a lot of big huck plays from the GRUT side, but then from Wildcard, you just see the structure and the composure they have on their offense with that dish and immediately going and following. That is their 3rd score so far of the game to that very spot on the front cone.
And that combination of Myers and Engler just running that little handler set, little homeboy cuts in the backfield, making the space. Engler, when he's not playing Ultimate, is a orthopedic surgeon resident, did you know?
Yes. So I'm sure that any ankle or knee injuries that the team might have, they know who to talk to. And we can talk more about that in a little bit.
GRUT on the offense. Youngest player for GRUT, the 5 shirt, Anna Minard, with the disc now. 16-year-old, been playing for 6 years. Started playing with GRUT when she was 12. Composure though, not showing any hint of nerves. Down the line, or quick reactions required. This is a different look from GRUT. Oh, lovely little lifty push pass. Jams it into the jam hole, and right there is Walt Janssen. And that just change of pace from the slow, languid, advancing the disc, and then bosh, in it goes. GRUT making it look so nice.
And Wildcard was trying to slow down their offense with that kind of switching defensive look there. But GRUT really reacted perfectly to it, saw a little bit of a miscommunication in the defensive backfield for Wildcard, capitalized on it. That quick shot for the score.
Look at this little push, so cheeky. Beautiful read. And Hannah Janssen spins the disc across to Walt Janssen and makes it look so straightforward. So, can this be the point where we get a break? Because so far, we're still on serve.
Both teams are so eager for the break, and we did have a point earlier that went back and forth, probably at least 2 to 3 turnovers apiece. But that break is just so elusive.
That's Janssen's 2nd point of the game. I'm sure it won't be his last. Engler. Upfield. Turp. Advancing nicely to Petzinger. Movement to this near side into the end zone, and they make it look easy. Wildcard with a really clean offense. GRUT nowhere near any of those discs.
And Wildcard using the full width of the field so well, swinging it across. And their timing to get open, too, was just such precision to get that break throw after break throw straight into the end zone.
There is nothing that either team can do to separate themselves from each other. And somehow you feel like a crowd are waiting for this game to jump into life, but there's been action all over the field, but none of it has resulted in an actual break. We're still on serve, 5 apiece in this opening game from the mixed division.
And at windmill windup, GRUT was down several points in the finals and then ended up winning the game, but they did it with really athletic bids and defensive blocks and making those plays to get the breaks they needed to come back. And that's really what both teams will need to do, not necessarily wait for the offense to make a mistake or for a miscue, but to try and really make a defensive play of their own.
We're chatting with coach of GRUT, Jeroen Alt, father of Ben, and about what he was going to say to the team before they went into the first game, and he said, I've got a theme. My theme is trust, because this team know that they've been down, they've been in tricky situations before, and they've got to trust each other to get themselves out of those situations. Here they're not down. They're doing just fine, but can they break free of wildcard? First they've got to score this offensive point. On the sideline now, Anna Minard. Back to Hjena Jansen. Walt Jansen. Kularts sends the backhand floating across the sky. Leninger underneath it. Oh, what a D that is from wildcard. Read it all the way, chased it down hard. See the 40 shirt. Struggling to see the number on the back of the shirt there. Here's Annika Chan, the 10 shirt. There's the disc from Kularts. Leninger chasing it down, but beautifully read by Chan. Goes to the floor for it as well.
Chan took a great line to that disc. The shortest distance to get there for that block.
So wildcard threatening the break now. Chan with the disc again. Oh, little poach has almost run from Kularts, but GRUT reading that beautifully, and the disc is going straight back into the turf. A little bit of a miscommunication. Walt Jansen, it wasn't a great throw from Jansen anyway, but I think he was expecting Kularts to come back into the line area and take that one. Heath for wildcard now. Beautiful spin to the center of the field. Robert. Down the line to Crowley. Low disc, but perfectly weighted to Olsen. Wildcard using the full width again, spreading the play. GRUT staying close. Every player still marked. Rahill. Wildcard getting closer. Within 5 meters into space. He rises and takes it down. The first break of the game goes to the team from the USA. Wildcard 6-5 up, and GRUT have got some thinking to do.
And John Rahill, when he made his cut to the end zone, his defender knew that he had beaten him with that kind of first step and a half or so, where GRUT had the opportunity to keep that disc alive after the huck was defended. But we got our first break.
And no doubt in that final pass, but saw a few of the maybe parts of the immaturity of GRUT there, where they had the turnover. Jansen, not a great disc, not a great decision to try and get that little pop over the top. It just disappeared into the turf. And possession at this level, in front of this crowd, in this heat, is so valuable. They can't give it up like that.
And sometimes when you get an interception like that, you're ready to just keep pushing and moving it as quickly as possible. When, if you're not marked, as I don't believe he was, it's okay to take a breath, take that extra second to really find where your teammate is.
All the preparation for this tournament has given us a brilliant spectacle out here. The atrium field with the stands packed, teams from 36 countries, 128 teams in 3 divisions. And this is the biggest of the divisions, 48 teams in the mixed division. Ort looks downfield, Lola Dam cutting underneath now. Finds her, brilliant isolation from GRUT. No one but Lola Dam was anywhere near that space. Now again extending the run to Steinhausen. Over the top, beautifully done into the space again. Could not get to it with the bid from wildcard, and Ben Ort brings it back to 6 apiece. Get that D-line back out and have another crack at this wild card offense.
And Ort was really a captain of that offensive point, getting the disc nearly every other, and then scoring with that really athletic run-through, run-to grab.
6 apiece right here in the opening game of the World Ultimate Club Championships.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome,
regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds.
And even defy gravity.
a place that knows grit, knows grace, knows bright lights, and knows empty bleachers.
A place where we remember to laugh.
Where we learn to trust.
And eventually, even learn to fly.
A place where character, community, and competition
are all as balanced as a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play Ultimate, we live Ultimate.
The disc is moving already. Wild card have it. Looking for options downfield. One cut available front of the end zone, but there's another one following it. And the 84 shirt of Alex Kapinos adding to his tally for this game. And wild card looking really fluid on that offensive point, Emmy.
Yes, there were no turnovers as wild card stuck to their system and went straight to the end zone. They had one continuation cut after the next, and they are up though, one break. So we'll see what GRUT really does to kind of change up some of their defensive looks to stop that. But they did travel significantly farther, coming from the Netherlands, battling time zones and getting used to things. And even Naya Rouse, one of their players, she has a lung infection. She's on antibiotics, but she says that they're working well, and she's excited to be out on the field today.
Yeah, Nina was chatting to us yesterday. Looked a little bit like she was nervous. She didn't want to tell us she was nervous. She had a brave smile on her face, but the very popular character over in the Netherlands, anyone that's ever played the Windmill tournament will know her. And she's the spirit captain for GRUT. Timeout called. And Wildcard are in the driving seat for this one, an opportunity to come out on defense and see if they can take the half at 8. Now, if you are watching, and we'd love you to watch all week the action from the World Ultimate Club Championships here in Cincinnati, and you want to get in touch with us, the best way to do that is through Twitter, and the handle we are using is WFDF Live. That's WFDF, World Flying Disc Federation. WFDF Live on Twitter is the way to get in touch with that, and we are following that. If you'd like to shout out to myself, Tom Stiles, or Emmy Fitzgerald, then you can do so. WFDF Live on Twitter. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you wherever you're watching the Ultimate throughout this week, and it is a packed week of coverage. 4 fields being covered on various different media and streaming channels. If you want to check out all of that, you can do so at the tournament website. That's WUCC2018.com. Look for the media links on there, and there's all the games that are being streamed and all the different platforms they're being streamed on. You can find all the details, WUCC2018.com, for all of that. And we do hope you spread the word and make the most of this barrage of live Ultimate that we're going to be bringing to you from the fields.
An exciting barrage featuring teams from all across the world. 6 out of the 7 continents on the globe are represented at this tournament in the men's, women's, and mixed divisions. Not every country bringing a team for every division, but nonetheless.
Kalatz. Janssen the target again. Janssen rises, but this time his body position was behind the wildcard defender. Defender had seen that option coming, got himself in a good spot. Now we had a little conversation between the two. Some contact made as they went up for that disc. Steve Baker, our game advisor, going in to have a chat. Matthew Heath is the receiver. Heath goes up.
The throw was a little bit short, so you see that Jansen had to come back to get it, but through there it seems like their discussion then is what that contact involved with Heath, the wildcard defender.
It's possible Heath was jumping back into Jansen. Maybe that's the call. And Jansen looked like he was going forward into the disc. Very difficult to call it from this position, even with the action replay. The players themselves are actually able to watch the replay on the big Jumbotron screens in the stadium. I don't think they were paying attention when their replay was played. It's uncontested. I don't know. It's an uncontested foul. And Steve Baker, the game advisor there, just bringing the instructions back in. Lacko van der Wieden for GRUT. And a quick turn of speed from Ben Ort in that back corner.
And that was a crucial hold from GRUT to tie the game up there. And really great spirit from both players on that foul call. Ended up being an uncontested foul, but you really see the spirit of the game that's so crucial with our sport demonstrated in that discussion.
Yeah, so many times we've seen that sort of thing just result in the disc going back. So it's nice that the two players calmly, there was no raising of voices there. The game advisor goes on to listen to that call. They're not there to offer an opinion unless it's asked for. But another timeout called now. Plenty to talk about here. It's 7 apiece. The two teams separated by that one break so far.
And you can see that whoever scores next is going to take it to half, as it's a game to 15. So that momentum that you have by taking it to half, and then especially if you are then on offense to start the second half, just how wonderful that is. They call it completing the break. So if wildcard is then able to convert here and then score starting the second half, then that keeps on serve. However, if GRUT is able to get the break here, and then they'll go into half with that additional momentum.
Yeah, they refer to this as Galaxy Point. It's not quite Universe Point.
Right.
But it is, it's still a big thing, still worth fighting for.
Battle of the Milky Way. And it's great to see so many college players who then play club together. Wildcard having several players from Tufts that are playing, including there's one player on GRUT who is a Tufts player, and she will be playing with Wildcard for the club series this coming fall.
Yes, are you talking about Claire Dunn?
Yes.
Yeah, Claire learnt and developed her game playing with GRUT, has been playing with Wildcard all season, so she knows their strategies, she knows how they play, because she's been playing with them, and she will be playing this season with them as well. Game back underway, key point in the game. Wound up the arm looking for the big deep flick, didn't come. Midfield, Kapinos. Sends it back, low disc, but clings on. Nelson. Good movement here from Wildcard into the end zone. Rises, it's just above the outstretched hand of Haley Om. She could not quite reach that disc. Apart from that pass, perfect offense from Wildcard looked like they'd scored it for a second, Emmy.
The timing was phenomenal from their downfield cutters. As soon as that continuation pass was caught, you saw Alm immediately going towards the end zone. She knew what was coming. That is textbook offense right there. However, you can see it was just, it barely touched her fingers and a little out of reach.
So an opportunity for GRUT to see if they can take the half on a break back, which would be a big psychological shift for them. It's the other 16-year-old Janssen on the far side, coming back underneath. Cheered Ates. Janssen. Dam cutting underneath, and she has the disc now in her hand. Floor Kalartz is there. Kalartz looking down the line. She goes across the field with a big backhand. It's floating high. Wild card pressure underneath. Rises, and what a takedown. Perfect jump. Absolutely no contact at all. Just read it better than anyone else.
And there's Kalartz.
Right back at you. Kalartz rises, takes the disc, and then collides and clatters into Eva Petzinger. And Kalartz has probably winded herself. Conversation between Petzinger, who probably feel a little bit aggrieved that Kalartz clattered into her, but I'm going to have a look at this again. Great turnover from Wildcard, looking to make that fast break. Kalartz reads it. Oh, it's quite a heavy collision. Petzinger crashing to the ground.
The discussion is around if the collision happened before or after the disc, the contact of the disc happened. However, there are some differences between USA Ultimate and WFDF.
It might also be a conversation about dangerous play, because it could Kalartz have made a bid on that disc without taking Petzinger out in the way she did? Disc moving again, and Wildcard, having had that conversation and agreed that it was a foul, have thrown it straight back to GRUT. They have an opportunity to take Galaxy Point. It's going to be a long one. Janssen to Dam. Kalartz on the wing. She has it now. Kulin to Dam. Kalartz available. Cutting across is Stenica. And a call on the field. Is it a pick? The heat rising. That was a spicy little disc there to Ates. This team played an awful lot of indoors in the inception of the squad. They play an awful lot of on the handball courts in the Netherlands. So overheads are second nature to them. Ates making themselves available. Tjeerd cutting across to that far side. Coming back again. Good pressure from Wildcard, stopping this offensive movement. Stenica to Dam. To Ates. Ates breaks out the hammer and finds a completely unmarked Ben Ort in the end zone. And that is the half. GRUT re-establishing themselves and breaking back. This is on serve, and what a game we have in this opener of the World Ultimate Club Championships.
And GRUT really taking advantage of some of those upside down and more unique throws on that point. And when that hammer went up, it was shot with so much precision. Ort had to go all the way to the ground to be able to get it, but scooped right underneath. Direct hit.
Well, the tension's building here. We're in for a cracking second half. Do stay with us here from Cincinnati. second half of this game is going to be an absolute cracker. We're at the Atrium Stadium in Mason, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. The opening game in the mixed division. And we see some of the dignitaries posing for a photograph down on the fields. The crowds from players from teams from 36 different countries, 128 teams. Everybody from the minnows traveling across from the far side of the world to some fairly well-known big name players mingling and shaking hands and rekindling old friendships here at the World Ultimate Club Championships.
That's just what's so neat about this tournament and so unique, is that you have all of these different clubs that kind of have their own personality, and then you layer that on top of the culture of each country. Then you bring that together. It's very remarkable. It was also really neat to see the different teams playing friendlies and different scrimmages yesterday, having practice this morning. But I think also you have to really hand it to the community of Cincinnati, their ultimate community as well, scrimmaging against some of these teams coming from other countries, and really doing a phenomenal job putting on the tournament.
Myself and Emmy and a couple of the other commentary crew went down to the scrimmage fields yesterday. It's a real party atmosphere down there.
It was.
Everyone having a great time, really hot. So everyone was playing like 20, 30-minute games max because they didn't want to wear themselves out in this heat. But, you know, it was a just beautiful atmosphere. You've got Singapore playing on that field, Ireland facing off against Mexico on that field, India practicing. I think you joined in with one of the Indian warm-up drills, Emmy.
I joined in their warm-ups. I had kind of a fun social media series you'll see throughout the tournament, #EmmyCrash, where I'm try to participate and be part of what the teams are doing. Not as much, though, as our own Liam Grant, who actually joined the Pelt scrimmage. A lot of his friends from a team that he has played with.
Yes, Liam engineered our visit to that scrimmage field, I think. He said, Tom, did you know there was a scrimmage going on in the field? Do you think we should go? Oh, it's a great idea, Tom. Well done. Why did you think of that? I'm glad you thought of that. Oh, I've got my cleats, by the way.
Oh, I have a white and a dark. And
yeah, we're good to go. These journeys that the players have made vary vastly. We've been fascinated to see the stories of the teams who have come here. And this story of the team from the Netherlands, GRUT, a young, youthful, energetic, spicy European team, have really taken the European mixed division by storm, facing up against a much more established, and I'm not just talking about wildcard, I'm talking about American mixed ultimate as, you know, as a place to grow the sport, playing a much more established, recognizable type of ultimate. These two are going to clash, and it's been a fascinating first half.
Incredibly, and I think it'll be really, really fun to see them match up against the different teams throughout the tournament. And one benefit that they have is that several of their players have played in international tournaments, playing in those U17s and U20s. And that kind of experience, even if you are 18, 19, 20 years old, bringing that then to this international stage, you lose a little bit of that intimidation factor facing up against storied programs and pretty well-known players like we'll see this week.
And wherever you're watching around the world, do hope you're enjoying this spectacle of World Ultimate. I'd like to say hello to a few people watching back in the UK. I know Alec is out there watching, and there's a whole crew of people down in Ramage Towers enjoying this game. Wherever you are, you can get in touch with us. We're on WFDF Live. And we have a 7-person commentary crew, as well as a massive production staff. They're all sitting next to us now, working their magic with the buttons and bringing you these incredible pictures from Cincinnati. You see the crowds enjoying the sunshine. But yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, WFDF Live on Twitter, And that's your line straight through to the commentary team. And whoever's broadcasting at that moment will be able to watch that and see.
If you're on Instagram, you can follow our WFDF Live feed on Instagram as well. Get those different photos. And it's so amazing, the explosion of live stream and footage that's available in the past few years, what technology's allowed us to do. And that helps the sport extend its visibility outside of those who just play. You know, increasingly, I've seen coworkers, I've been talking to coworkers where they've pulled up ultimate highlight reels of the 10 best layouts of 2016 or whatever, because it's spreading and has that interest. So we're so glad that everyone is watching and tuning in, and it's a really easy way to tell your friends about the sport, and hopefully they'll join a league or join your high school or college team in the meantime.
Well, Southern Hills Ultimate have tuned in. They set the alarm nice and early. They're watching in South Australia. And Kuba Wobel, thanks. Is that a Polish name? I'm guessing might be.
I believe it is.
Might be Polish. Watching. Yeah, the angle of the light, we have struggled a little bit to make the far sideline visible. So if you are wondering where the far sideline is, it's just beyond the big numbers on the ground. It's exactly the same distance away from the edge of the football field as it is on the near sideline. They're painted blue, and that's what we were allowed to paint, but the far sideline is just beyond those numbers. If you're able to make it out, just the bright sunshine today has made things a little bit tricky. I hope you're enjoying the coverage nonetheless. The action on the field has been sparkling so far.
And it's really neat too, as we've done our research for these teams, to see the youth divisions grow and then also impact the players who are out here. We see Padea is a very, very storied high school program out of Atlanta. Miranda Roth-Knowles, the coach there. Several players on wildcard coming from that Padea program. And it's amazing. You come from your high school team, and then a couple years later, okay, you go up to the Northeast for college, and now you're here at the World Ultimate Club Championships.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that impact you talked about, Miranda Roth-Knowles, the impact of an established player can make just going and coaching and developing a program. And Miranda's here. Miranda's at the World Ultimate Club Championships. She's come across with her team. She's currently living in China. She's developed a team in China, and she's brought them over here. So probably not going for the highest heights that she's used to, playing as she did in legendary status for Riot for all those years, but still making an impact on the ultimate scene, developing an entire new program over in China, and then exposing those players to this high level experience of World Ultimate. Great to see that happening.
It is amazing, and there are several countries that have not brought teams before who are bringing teams this year. Uruguay, Kenya, Argentina, I believe. Chile. So then seeing the growth of the sport in those communities, and it's no secret the leadership and confidence that just playing sports in general brings, and then you layer it on top of this sport of ultimate with the spirit of the game and integrity tenets that we have. I think this is an opportunity too for players from those countries that do have smaller communities to get encouraged and get ideas and tips from other players that maybe they can take back and then invest in their own community as well.
Well, we've already got one example here of players meeting, people from other countries at a big international event, and then being invited to go move countries, come move to our nation, live in our city, play with our team, because we'd love to have you there. Claire Dunn, who's playing with GRUT this week, has actually been playing all of her club season with Wildcard in Boston. And we are back for the second half. Wildcard on offense from the USA in the dark blue. GRUT from the Netherlands in the white. play right through the middle. How did they not get any defense on that? That was a very lucky disc. Stuart Artes had his back to the frisbee. Didn't make the contact. Johnson. Flying defense, an outstretched one-handed grab from Ulm. A little bit too much contact over on the far side of the field, but the players tap hands. The foul was called, but the disc continued anyway, and I think that's where it'll stay with Ulm. 5 meters out. Looking for a great start to the second half. The disc is going to fly high, but well read by Engler. An absolute rock at the back of this offensive line. Nice disc, finds a space. Good fake from Ulm. Engler and Ulm trying to connect again. Artes almost got a hand to that. Great cut from Engler. Oh, he has done that 3 or 4 times in this game already. A little bit of a turn of speed, nothing that GRUT could do. And we're back on 8 apiece. The team's so close.
And once again, we've said this many times, wildcard scores from that front corner of their end zone, and their patience in the red zone is really a key factor of a high-level team, and you can just see wildcard putting on a clinic of an effective end zone offense that way. So it'll be interesting to see what GRUT is able to do to maybe stop that strike or contain that continuation that way, but such a close game, back tied at 8.
Yeah, the 3-shirt Ian Engler started playing Ultimate at Dartmouth College, and he played for the USA under-23 team in 2013, so he's had experience at this world level, but he is really shining out there. It's like, we've seen him do exactly the same move, that little dump pass and then sprint off to that front corner. The whole team know that's what he's going to do, but the defense haven't collared onto it yet.
And that give and go sometimes is very hard to defend too, with that very explosive first step.
I like it. I like that.
And you know, if they get on the other side of him and try to take that away, he'll have a swing on the other side totally unmarked, and he'll be using that as well because he's got the hands and the speed. Can GRUT contain him? Can they get? First, they need to score this offensive point. Wildcard setting themselves up in the center of the field. Very, very loose mark, if that's what it is. Giving every player on the GRUT side, I think they must know this this movement from GRUT. Oh, that disc is poor. It's floating. It's going to go outside the side of the pitch. And just a really awful disc from Ort.
And even that, there were at least 3 wildcard defenders in that backfield anticipating the huck going up, really forcing the GRUT player to make a play.
Yeah, and they've set off downfield. This one's going to be hanging beautifully. What a disc that is. Right on the edge, taking their time, spin it across. Oh, it's just beyond the outstretched reach. The wildcard can't complete. They've given it back to GRUT.
And that is a gift to GRUT right on the goal line. You can see the wildcard thrower trying to be patient, but just had a little bit too much zip on that flick.
This is smart defense, taking away the options here from wildcard. GRUT struggling a little bit. Manages to get it across to Floor Kalatz, who keeps that back foot in. It's been signaled as out. Are we going to see a call here, Emmy?
So here, the game advisor is able to say if it's in or not, but it is checked back in. So some more discussion after it's checked back in.
Downfield now. Boom. Kalatz making herself available for that deep back pass. Going all the way back to the halfway line. Kalatz so calm with that inside out break. Just takes the step, floats it beautifully. She knows exactly what's going to happen here, and look at that. Doesn't even go to the backhand, just one movement from the arm, calmly walking further up the field. Spins it into the end zone. Jansen's the target, and GRUT have proved themselves up to matching with some really clever, wise defense from Wildcard. Still on serve at 9-8.
And I just loved that give and go passing from GRUT there, and then going straight. You can see that Ort shot to the end zone to Jansen. Even in the coverage, the fact that it is put, where the disc is put, it allows Jansen to catch it with his defender behind him.
So an incredible layout bid. Luke Lino didn't quite manage to reel it in. Wildcard looking really frustrated every time that GRUT are scoring with, you know, they knew this was their threat. They knew that they're going to throw it deep. They've got some big receivers. They've got some big throwers. They like to send it. That was Mike McKenzie's message to the team. But have they been able to adapt? Sometimes.
Sometimes is exactly right. And I just really get a thrill out of seeing different teams do different defensive looks or try other things on offense. But I really have to hand it to GRUT being able to still convert their deep throws, even with those changes in defense.
Yeah, the 22-year-old Jansen, that was his third point of the game so far. Currently living in Amsterdam. Big disc going up from Wildcard. Floating high, pressure again from Dam, not quite enough, and it's a point. Haley Olm and Lola Dam having a rare old battle out there. Two of them have obviously spotted the threat that the other one poses. That was a tidy one-pass offense from Wildcard.
Wildcard came out, knew exactly what they were going to do. Haley Olm had to stop. That really gave the opportunity for GRUT to make the play, but Olm watched it all the way in, got the score.
Let's see what happens next after this.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
No kid should have an overuse injury. Limit young ones to one sport per season, save sport specialization for later, and cross-train with your kids. Parents and kids will both benefit.
GRUT from the Netherlands and Wildcard from the USA locked in battle, 9 each. They've come out of half, and GRUT have the disc now. Going across the sunshine here in Mason, Ohio, 40 minutes north of Cincinnati, and the disc from Kalatz is snappy and straight into a pack of Wildcard players. They gratefully smack that down to the ground with an opportunity for another break. They will be their second of the game. Miscommunication, disc floats into space. Maxwell Rick not reading the offensive cut well enough. Back with Ort for GRUT, sends it, Jansen's the target, his fourth point of the game, and he just takes it away.
And GRUT wasting no time after getting the disc back to say, you know what, we really need to get this to the end zone or to Jansen, a combination that you'll see often, really converts and makes it happen when it needs to.
And we've seen this. Both teams have done this thing where they get the disc and then immediately make a basic throwing error. That was just miscommunication between the two Wildcard players in the backfield. Maxwell Rick not quite seeing where the cut was going.
So now We're back to our trading points. We did receive a question from Twitter if they've announced where the 2022 World Ultimate Club Championships will be held. Those have not yet been announced. However, this morning at the With Diff Congress, they announced the World Ultimate and Guts Championship in 2020 will be held in the Netherlands.
Yeah. And I've no doubt one of the big decisions for all the players on the GRUT team will be which division to focus on, because it's 2 years away. They're going to need to make a decision probably towards the end of this season about whether they're going to focus on men's division, women's division, or actually work together on a mixed team that could really challenge. A Netherlands mixed team that was based around this GRUT line could be a really dominant force. Wild card now. Nice send back to Engler. Across to Johnson. Back to Myers. Low disc. Johnson again. Olm. This time marked by Collarts. Haley Olm proving to be a real handful for GRUT, not able to contain her. Showing a lot of respect by putting their best players marking her. Petzinger. Wildcard moving the disc around the back and into the other side of the end zone, and there it is. Beautiful work, floating it around. Casey Turp with the point in the end. All going through, largely through the men handling set there from Wildcard, but it was very effective.
Yes, we've seen more of the deep throws going to women receivers, but the handler movement a lot from the men. Could also wanted to point out that GRUT did stop the strike cut to the end zone with their defense. However, when that was gone, Wildcard swung it around to the other side and it ended up scoring on the break side.
You see that cut. The first touch of the point for Turp. He'd just been loitering at the back, waiting for the opportunity to strike across. The rest of the handling being done by Myers and Johnson and Engler. The Olm did come back to take one of those swing passes.
She did. Also want to wish Haley Olm a happy birthday.
Birthday?
Her birthday is tomorrow.
I think she'd like nothing more than to take a victory from the opening game of the 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships as a birthday gift. Still, the stands, the fans in the stands, especially the fans on this side, because this side of the field, they're sitting in the sun. And a few of them have gone to find a little bit more shade, or maybe gone across the other side of the field. The other side of the field, a lot of the fans are still there. But the atmosphere in the stadium is a little subdued. High stall count here, but good patience from GRUT. Lola Dam making herself available. Janssen in the middle of the field, not making a very decisive cut. Now she does, and takes the disc. Leninger coming underneath. Back to Van der Wieden. Janssen is available again. Disc to her now. Cuts coming from the center of the field. Wildcard doing really well, blocking up these lanes. And the float from Janssen is perfect. And now across to the break side. Dam, she looks deep, she sends it, floats across the top, beautifully read. Oh, it's going to have to go to ground to fetch it. Didn't quite make it. And eventually, GRUT finding that over the top disc to the break side. But Wildcard's defense was stifling everything they had in that point, Emmy.
That was the only option that GRUT had in that moment, and that throw looked a little bit low, but actually ended up sailing over the different receivers. You could see how close the disc was to the receiver.
Anna Minard not able to make that grab. Downfield now, Wildcard threatening. Disc in the hand of Hannah Crowley. Nice up the line cut from Chan. Oh, Chan had an option at the front of the end zone, almost got taken away as the GRUT player got to his feet and adapted to the situation on field. Anna Minard. Oh, that is a late released inside flick right to the back of the end zone and out of the back of the end zone. Audacious attempt, Emmy.
It looked like a no-look pass. Perhaps the count was getting fairly high, and just nobody was there to really be able to get it.
Yeah, the count was at 9.75, I think, so it was time that disc left.
Better to turn it over as far away from the other team's scoring end zone as possible.
Now, if you're watching Ultimate for the first time, the count is up to 10, and it's the defensive player that makes that count out loud so the person with the disc can hear it. They have to throw before the T of 10. The big disc goes up to Lola Dam. Almost got a block there. Really fast footwork from the wildcard players. And the GRUT offensive line very casual in arriving to help out Lola Dam here. Now they do, and a big back pass had to come. Really lazy from GRUT there. They got that big disc up, and Lola Dam was totally isolated. And they're calling a stall out. Is it going to be a contested stall out?
This will come in on 8.
GRUT seemed to think all the work was done when Dam caught it. She's still outside the end zone with no real help. Oh, and the disc goes the wrong side. Few errors creeping into this young Dutch team, and they can't afford to do that. Wildcard will punish them. They have another opportunity to do so now. Weary legs out there as Heath comes to fetch.
And you could see that Wildcard was playing positionally very, very well. It made it very difficult for her to be able to make that pass.
This experience and the well-drilled defensive nature, but the disc across the field there, a little bit too far away. Ort arrives at speed, looking for options. Minard is there, and she's available at the front of the end zone. The 5-shirt, 16-year-old Anna Minard has taken that one down, and gripping on by the skin of their teeth, GRUT are still trading with Wildcard.
So exciting, and you see from both sides of the field, Wildcard nearly having a stall called on them on their goal line, GRUT with the contested stall call on theirs. A little bit of a handler miscue allows for GRUT to be able to capitalize and score. So both teams are making those little errors, but in the end, it will be who can capitalize on them more quickly and the most effectively.
I was chatting with the GRUT side last night in the pizza restaurant where we were eating. We just happened to be there, and they were there as well. And I asked them, when did you first know that you were going to be on the show game at the opening of the tournament? And they said that they were asked, did you want to be part of this? And they had a good think. And the thing that they were thinking about was, is this, the opening game of the tournament, their best opportunity to beat Wildcard? Because they're potentially, they had to meet them in their pool. They were in their pool, but would they prefer them to meet them when they would have been scheduled otherwise? And they decided, actually, this is right. And I think a key factor in that is the difference in the squad sizes. Wildcard have got 9 extra players. Now, towards the end of the tournament, or maybe after 3 or 4 games, those extra players would make a difference. On the first one, I actually think it's the other way around. I think the smaller squad allows better chemistry.
I completely agree, Tom.
Down here on the field, GRUT defensive line, trying to put a little bit of pressure on. Stenica marking. Wildcard cutting down that line. Stall count getting higher. Capinos with the disc. Beautiful floaty disc around back to Engler, using the full width of the field. This is elegant stuff from Wildcard. Olm into the air, it's going to be hanging. Who's underneath it? Oh, beautifully read. This is Annick Leniger, the 2 Leniger sisters, twin sisters. Annick, you can tell, is always wearing the longer socks.
And really great heads-up defense from Anna Kaleniga there to give GRUT this break opportunity.
Done with the disc for GRUT. Artes. Done again. Been playing all season with wildcard, and now she faces up against her teammates. Floor Collart's on this far side, completely unmarked. And this is the wildcard had sent an extra player deep just to take away those long options, but Floor Collart's in the backfield, completely unmarked, and still is. GRUT not using her yet. Not really drawing attention to herself either. Across the end zone, it's going to be exciting. Big bid! Physical contact between the two players and a tumble to boot. And a foul call while he's still on the ground.
I think that's a good foul call. You're right there with each other. Worth the discussion to see what the wild card player's perspective is. That's Kyle Johnson and Nick Kumans.
Yeah, Cowmans is, we'll have a look at this again. It was a very quick disc. A big old jump into there. It's very similar to the Floor Collart's defense against Petzinger. And that was deemed an uncontested foul in the end. Jumping in and through the space that the other player was already taking. But this one's been sent back, and now they're using Floor Collart's. Been exposed and empty at the back in the backfield. A defender gone deep earlier in the point, but now it's with Stenica. Artes, oh, jamming it into the front corner, and it's a huge point. Annick Leninger scores it, and finally we have a gap opened up. GRUT have got a 2-point lead.
And for Annick Leninger, she really had the bookends on that play. She got the block and then ends up getting the score in the end zone through so much traffic and her defender right on her.
We'll be coming back for more from Mason, Ohio after this.
Heat illness strikes kids and adults alike during summer workouts. Watch for muscle cramps, fever, nausea, headache, weakness, or feeling faint. Act fast to get cool and get fluids.
The teams are in timeout after that break point by GRUT, the young Dutch superstars from Europe, playing against the team from Boston, Wildcard. Wildcard in the blue, GRUT in the white. We were talking a minute ago about the difference in the squad size, Emmy.
And that really does make a difference. I think the one benefit that GRUT really has is that so many of these players have played together a lot, and they aren't experiencing the fatigue that most teams probably will come several days from now, where you really need the bigger legs, and you're able to get into your chemistry quicker. You come into a tournament, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to gain that chemistry, working through 20-plus players, 25-plus players on a team. And I mean, what GRUT's doing, they've had the largest lead so far of the game, now with a whole 2 points.
A whole 2 points, that's the big margin we've had. And we talked a little bit about the youthfulness of this side. You know, average age of this team is 21. Their youngest member is, they've got 2 members who are 16 years old, but they've already been playing, even the 2 younger members have been playing with GRUT since they were 12. You know, this team have not just grown as a team together, they've grown up together. I mean, it's incredible.
They literally have, and there's some players who are in their early 20s who've said, oh, well, I've been playing for 9 years now.
It's quite a story, and it's quite a tribute to the Dutch junior scene that they've managed to create. This a big bid comes out straight away. Wild card. Feeling a little bit of the pressure now. Disc across to the sideline. Baston de Jong, hands low, and a little bit of a bobble off the chest of Lily Stepanitis. And the disc goes to ground. GRUT with an opportunity to extend their lead further.
And it is a game to 15. The clock that you see is what counts down to cap. It's a 1-point cap, and there's no hard cap.
Disc goes across to Ates. De Jong. Not seen much of Basten de Jong, the Flying Dutchman. He's very well known for his deep cuts and threat. As he's set off at pace now. Oh, it just turns around. The disc isn't coming. Ates finds space across the far side of the field to Stenica. Kolarz sends it. It's arcing through the sky. It's going to drift towards the sideline. The pressure underneath it. And Wildcard reading that beautifully and bringing it down.
So much hang time on that huck gave that opportunity for the defense.
Floor Kolarz making a big bid on that. She's gone down heavily, but Wildcard still have the disc. The 19 shirt of Stephanatis, and it's into the end zone. Kara Hammer with the score for Wildcard, clinging on. A long, hard, hot game on the turf for both of these teams. And perhaps just that youthful exuberance from Kolarz throwing not a great disc, really hanging it up there. We've seen some quality throws from her so far. She went down pretty hard, bidding on that disc to get it back.
Even when she got up, she kind of saw what was about to happen. The score was about to take place and kind of took a tumble there, did not take an injury, but you can see she was pretty much walking for the rest of the point. Of course, her person was not involved with the play thereafter, but it's a long game, and Kolarz is one of the main players on this GRUT offense. Hopefully she can get some water, get a little bit of rest. She does not appear to be on this line right now.
Yeah, an 18-year-old history student from Amsterdam. She's pretty deadly wherever, but she's not had the big impact that many suspected she might. One of the most exciting young prospects in Europe.
Let's do 3 for the poll. Actually, no.
Big disc from Heath across the sky and into the hands of Bohm. Van der Wieden to Minard. Ort on the far side, he sends it downfield. It's raking across the sky to Janssen. Janssen doesn't have to think too hard about the feet, and just a little cheeky pop across the top. Lola Dam cutting hard and fast into the space, and GRUT with no mistake. Those deep discs from GRUT are so good.
What a throw. Throwing to where the space is, so the receiver is able to run up onto it. The wildcard defender knew that he did not have a play. And a little bit of creativity on that continuation throw for the score. But GRUT is able to maintain that 2-point lead.
And that's a vital 2-point lead now, because they're now 2 points away from the win. And I mean, we've not talked about the rest of this pool, but when the pools were first announced, everyone looked at this pool and went, yeah, as it could go anywhere. As well as GRUT and Wildcard. I'm going to look it up before I read off the rest of the names, because I don't want to get them all wrong. Or perhaps Emmy's going to look it up for us. But there's some very, very close games. I know Reading is in there as well.
Exactly. No pool is easy, but this one for sure was really, really interesting.
So, GRUT with the big disc across the sky. with wild card in the backfield. The sun drifting towards the top of the bleachers, but it's still casting a pretty short shadow at the moment. And the temperatures down on the turf are rising high. Hammer with the disc for wild card, sends it. Oh, it's a beautiful disc from Hammer. What a disc, beautiful read, and Petzinger made that cut early. And the disc from Kara Hammer picked her out in lots of space. And that's the sort of offensive point you want when the other team have got their head up and they're looking to see if they can break you and take it within one. Score that nice, quick offense is going to just raise wildcard back into this game. Emmy, you have the pool.
I do have the pool. It's GRUT, Great Britain Reading Ultimate, Flying Rabbits Ultimate Club out of Belgium, Russia Mixed, Singapore Chuckies, and Wildcard.
Yes. So Reading, one of the best mixed teams in the UK. They've won a couple of UK Tour titles. And Russ Mixed, bit unknown, but we expect a lot. And I think they've been doing some of the big European club tournaments this summer and have won a few and lost a few, but shown a lot of quality. And so to get out of this pool, you're going to have to, you have to play some top teams. And there's no easy games for those 4 teams. I think Chuckies might be slightly easier, and Flying Rabbits are going to be a slightly easier game. But for the other 4 teams, I've no idea what order they're going to finish.
It will be really, really interesting to see. And there's so many factors, too. Who all was able to travel here from overseas, injuries that may plague.
Janssen opens up the arm, Lola Dam underneath this one, it's floating high. Some wild card arriving quickly, but that was straight out of the textbook. And GRUT's move within one of taking this opening game. The wings open up as the players run down, and they're so pleased to see that one of the tactics they've worked on the training ground has come off to perfection. Lola Dam in so much space, jogging it in, really.
And what a sight to see Lola Dam rushing for that disc, and then 3 wildcard defenders closing in. But by the time we got to the end zone, it wasn't quite enough time for wildcard to be able to get there. And this brings GRUT within 1 of taking the game.
And we talked a little bit about how deadly the women were in the receiving roles. Lola Dam has had 2 scores, Anne Menard's had 1, Floor Kalatz has had 2, Annika Leninger has had 1. So the female receivers for GRUT putting a lot of points on the board. I think the story from the star players, the standout players, Ben Ort and Walt Janssen, with 7 scores and 6 assists between them. They have really made a difference to this young Dutch side. So we are on potentially the last point of the game, with wildcard at the back of the field, catching and moving the disc down through Petzinger. Very close to the turnover there, but it's gone deep. Kalatz puts on the afterburners. Can she bring this one down? Oh, a little touch there from the 11 shirt. She goes to the turf. The crumbs jump up around her, but she has shown the speed and athleticism.
How about that closing speed from Kalatz?
And I think she's hurt herself a little bit. She's taking a sub, and Lola Dam is taking her place. See a replay there. Real commitment.
Just putting everything into getting that block on defense.
Oh, it's the minor of touches, wasn't it? But she really slammed hard into the turf and slid. I'm sure she'll be fine. It's made of tough stuff.
The turf, a bit unforgiving as well.
It is, especially in this heat, hot turf. But the layout technique was pretty spot on, Even so, at that full speed stretch. Oh, and a mistake. Arte's disc was hard. Straight into the GRUT receiver. I'm trying to see who that was. Wildcard with an opportunity to hold here, floating across, and they do let off the hook completely by GRUT. They're back within one, and having Floor Kalatz, having done all that work to get the block, having to take a substitution because she'd winded herself, now sees a throwaway or a drop from GRUT, from her teammates.
And that's really one of the smart parts of strategies of hucking it right off the bat, even if it's incomplete or someone defends it or whatnot. You still have the disc on that end of the field, so if you are able to force a turnover or a turnover occurs, then you're much closer to your end zone to get another shot at scoring.
I think the tactical adjustments that Wildcard have made, particularly if they've seen one of GRUT's set plays, we've seen the three female players from GRUT come off to one side. Wildcard know exactly what's happening. They're just clogging in the center of the field, taking away options. I think that's been really smart. But I think player for player, GRUT have been better.
I agree, and there have been really interesting matchups, and I think we've seen overall more athletic, kind of outside of the bounds plays from the GRUT side. Wildcard has had some great blocks as well on defense, but they take pride in the fact that they really aren't superstars. It's everyone contributing to the system to be better.
Yeah, and that system works when everybody does what the coach has instructed them to do, takes away the options that GRUT need. Lola Dam having to work really hard to take that disc down. Janssen on the edge of the field, looks downfield. Ben Ort was just stops his cut. Disc back. Jana Janssen cutting up the field. Van der Wieden cutting. Ort across the top, has to catch that one high. Minard is available. The deep shot to Van der Wieden goes up. Lots of pressure underneath this, and taking it out and taking a hit to the turf for his trouble. He was taken out by the Wildcard player rather than by... Is he okay?
A little slow to get up, but there's just so much float on that throw. It really allowed for the opportunity for an additional Wildcard defender to come down and help.
That's Gustav Haflin with the big bid there. He's taken the sub. And I wonder if we're going to see a similar situation here. Player goes off after making a big block. And can Wildcard take it back to 14 each? They've worked really hard to stay in this game. Taking the deep shots away. Now comes the back underneath.
Great fakes from the throwers on this Wildcard team.
Has to go to the turf. Picks up some of the big WFDF logo. Floats up high. Heath has it. Some tired cuts coming from Wildcard now at the end of the game. But they're still moving. They still have the disc. They're still advancing. Oh, there was a big open cut shot available to the end zone, but it gets looked off. Olsen choosing to stay with the disc. Engler moves across to Ledley. Back to Heath. Down the line, tries to milk it into the end zone, just pops it in, and it's a good point from Wildcard. They have regained equal footing with GRUT. GRUT have been pushed all the way, and they're going to be coming out on offense for this final point. And we are at Universe Point. What a great start to the tournament.
How exciting for Wildcard to really hang on to take this to that double game point. This very first game of the tournament. I think this is a good sign of all of the great competition we're going to see this week.
Oh, we've witnessed all sorts of things. Some not the cleanest of games. I think there's been turnovers aplenty. from both sides, and then maybe they'll look back at the video of this game and look at some of those turnovers and wonder where they let the game slip away. Whoever takes this last point is going to be extremely happy. The other team is going to be looking at the rest of their pool and wondering how they made their week so hard.
And GRUT is the 5 seed of the tournament, wild card the 12 seed. So in order to maintain that seeding position, GRUT would really need to win this game. But like we talked about, the seeding is just all sorts of craziness all across the board. And it's really obviously either team's game at this point. However, GRUT will be on offense.
I think that's one of the really interesting things about the mixed division is there's so many teams who on a given day can beat teams who are maybe 10 or 12 seeds above them. And that's going to make for some fascinating pools. I expect upsets in the mixed division. And as we get towards the far end of the week, we're going to get in for some really close games. So last point of the game in this opener between GRUT from the Netherlands and Wildcard from Boston in the USA. Disc across to Ort. Jansen's looking to cut deep. Van der Wieden's going underneath. Now the disc makes its way across to Van der Wieden. The 3 female GRUT players isolated deep. Going to be engaged in just a second. Disc low, across. GRUT taking this one calmly. Point block. And this could be the game. Wild card with the disc. Floats it into the middle of the field. They're 5 meters out from an incredible comeback. Engler with the disc. Back across. GRUT holding firm so far. Looking for a way out, looking for a way in. Ort cutting around. It's got to be a high stall out, bit of contact. Oh, and a foul call by Engler. A little bit unhappy about the close attention of Jansen. Jansen was really struggling to keep up. Engler really trying to get free. Ledley really trying to find any disc that could find Engler. Not looking towards the end zone, not wanting to throw away this opportunity. And our game advisor, Linda Kudo, stepping in. The 2 of them shake hands. I think it's going to come back in. Wait for the hand signal.
I'm curious to know what the count is there. It has to be very high. You could see that Ledley started to look for kind of a bailout option, and then at around that time, the foul was called.
This will come in on 6.
Coming in on 6. Wild card around the back. Jansen marking. Or just a little bit of a fingertip touch. Olsen with the disc for wild card again. Conversation has to happen between the 2 players, getting a tiny bit physical out there, desperate not to see this great opportunity for an opening win slip away. Wild card in the ascendancy. It's the closing out this game. Real tight defense from GRUT. It's back with Ledley again. Again looking for that bailout. Jansen taking away the options. A nice throw into space. Ledley makes a cut across. Doesn't quite milk it in. Can she find a way? Engler's managed to keep the cut going. The defense from Jansen has gone to pieces. He's nowhere near anybody. He's just marking space. Ledley with the disc now. Finding a way back, finding a way out. Looking for anything across. Heath has got it into the end zone, and Wildcard have done it. They have beaten GRUT despite the fantastic young Dutch team throwing everything at this game. Wildcard have rallied at the end. They've scored 3 points in a row. And they have taken this opening game and broken young Dutch hearts.
And you can just see the fatigue, the absolute fatigue that's on the face of the GRUT players. I mean, you could see them laying down on the ground, so much emotion, but we really have to hand it to Wildcard. They're down by 2 at one point and just kept plugging through using the various HUCC options, swinging across the full field. How many, I can't even imagine how many passes they must have had on just that last point, the patience that they exhibited in the end zone to get that final score.
Well, you just see the potential in this young Dutch side, but on this occasion, it was, oh, we see there's the point block, absolute precision. You can see the intensity from the defense. That intensity, we've not seen that for the rest of the game, but the GRUT players desperate to hang on to this game, but calm, patience from Wildcard played through in the end, and they have done this brilliant comeback, 3 points in a row to take the opening game. And wherever you've watched it, I do hope you've enjoyed a real spectacle here from the Atrium Arena here at Mason High School in Ohio. It's half an hour north of Cincinnati. It's been myself, Tom Stiles, and Emmy Fitzgerald with the pleasure of bringing this game to you. And Emmy, just wrap up a little bit about those two teams and also what we've got exciting coming up for anyone that's watching for the rest of the week.
Yes, well, we do have an exciting lineup coming up for the rest of the week. So, of course, these teams will be in pool play. And then tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time, I mean, we are on 3 or 4 different games per round, all the way up until the final round at 5 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to tune in to the WFDF YouTube page, the Olympic channel, and then our partners over at FanSeat and UltiWorld, where be very, very exciting rounds from a wide variety of countries and teams all across the world.
Yeah, so if you want to go and watch any of the action, check out which games are on. You can do that by going to WUCC2018.com. All the action is there, but from us, it's goodbye.
That's what it looks like. I was like, because the trajectory of the disc, I didn't see how we it just happened.